Question number 42 on the reading portion of College Board Test 3. How do the words can, may, and could in the third paragraph, lines 19 to 41, help establish the tone of the passage or the paragraph? So that they very rarely talk about tone in this on this test, but we have to realize that when they do, it's usually pretty obvious. Can, may, and could in the third paragraph. Remember, we kind of talked about this actually. I noticed it when we were reading it. We suspect, right? We postulate, you know, and then we further postulate. It's this very conservative can, would, may, and could. Like, these are all very conservative scientific terms that scientists would use so that they don't sound like they know everything before they do an experiment. Because remember, I think the central issue to this piece is that the experiment has not been done. They're telling us what we should do in order to test this hypothesis, but we have not tested it. And scientists never say things and go out on a limb and say, "Oh, this is what the answer is going to be. This is what I know," without doing an experiment. So I think that's what these words can, may, and could, we postulate, right? We suspect. That helps establish this tone of caution. What about A? They create an optimistic tone. And optimistic means that it's like hopeful for the future. That makes clear the authors are hopeful about the effects of the research on colony collapse disorder. I don't think so. If you say, I may get a good grade on this test, it could be possible. Do you think that's like optimistic, like, oh, I crushed it? No. What about B? They create a dubious tone. Dubious almost means that it's like that you're skeptical. And I don't necessarily know if they're skeptical because they're proposing a hypothesis. They're just being safe and conservative with their wording. Dubious means like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. They create a dubious tone that makes clear the authors do not have confidence in the usefulness of the research. If they don't have confidence in the usefulness of the research, then why are they proposing it? They're not bringing up and writing this piece in order to say, yeah, I don't know if colony collapse is caused by pyrethrum or not. I'm not sure. They're not dubious of it. They're obviously, they believe in this strong enough in order to propose an experiment and to propose a framework to view this problem. But I don't think that they're dubious, because again, if they didn't have confidence in this, they wouldn't be talking about this method or this process. So that bothers me. I feel like B goes a little bit too far to the other end. What about C? They create a tentative tone. Tentative means like currently as it stands, this tentative, it's like it could change. It's possible that it's not always 100% correct, maybe. They create a tentative tone that makes clear the authors suspect but do not know that their hypothesis is correct. And that's true because, remember, this hypothesis can be tested by trial. So they haven't even tested this thing. So I really like C because it provides this hypothetical, tentative, where they're cautious. They don't want to overstep and say something that's definitive when they don't have the facts to prove it. So I like C. What about D? How do the words can, may, and could help establish a tone? They create a critical tone. Critical means like, again, it's almost like very close to dubious, except critical is more serious. It's like, this is wrong, this is bad. That makes clear the authors are skeptical of claims that pyrethrums are inherent in monocrops. Okay, this is just this is the answer choice that you have to set, like the College Board is helping you settle on. You get confused with A, B, and C, and you like pick D because it sounds reasonably, in line with what was said in the piece. A critical tone that makes clear the authors are skeptical of claims. Are the authors skeptical that pyrethrums are inherent in monocrops? They're not skeptical that they are in monocrops. They actually believe, I think the assumption is that there are no pyrethrums in monocrops like clover. Can, may, and could they're not talking about the fact that they're skeptical that pyrethrums are in monocrops. Because no one ever says that they're in monocrops. No one's like saying like, well, the beekeepers tell us all the time that there are pyrethrums in clover, but we're skeptical of that. That's not what they talk about in the passage, but furthermore, they're not using these words can, may, and could in order to create a critical tone about whether or not pyrethrums are in monocrops. I feel like, again, that's like down the rabbit hole. The College Board is making us say things and accept things that we know not to be true. So I think the answer is obvious. The answer for number 42 is going to be C, tentative. They suspect and do not know. They're bringing up hypotheses. They postulate. This tone of this third paragraph establishes the fact that it's not experimentally proven yet. They're just providing what they believe to be a plausible understanding of the problem. The answer number 42 is going to be C.